David, Carmine, how are you guys doing today?
Doing good, Greg. How are you?
How you doing,
I'm
Greg?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. Looking forward to chatting with you. To get started,
Pleasure.
why don't you guys just take a moment and kind of explain uh, what you do and tell us a little bit about your firm.
Sure. So we are Strata Capital is the name of our firm. We have been in business. We've been in business, Carmen and I, before Strata Capital started. We worked for some other people, but Strata Capital itself, we started back in 2018, and the whole way through, we've just kind of worked with folks that work for Fortune 500 companies, helping them with with their financial planning and wealth management, some tax strategies, stuff like that.
I love it. How did you guys the two of you meet? How did you get in business together?
It's
Why don't you get that
interesting.
one, Carl?
So we both started out at the MetLife Premier Client Group, which was MetLife's like financial planning and wealth advisory arm. So Dave started, I think, 4 years ahead of me,
2011 was my first year.
and my first year is 2015. So yeah, 4 years ahead. Joined the firm right out of college. Dave was in the office, and we met. We didn't work together right away. We were very friendly with each other. The younger guys in the office. And then over time, we kind of just graduated toward each other because we had the same values in terms of how we do planning, how we care about clients, who we want to serve it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the norm. It's only 11 years ago, but it was a lot different back then. So,
For sure.
so we kind of just gravitated toward each other, and then here we are. 11 years later, still kicking.
I love it. So I wasn't expecting to go this way, but I want to touch on it really quick before we start talking about your clients. You mentioned common values. What are some of those common values that you guys share? What was the water cooler talk like? What were some of the things that inspired you and that you guys were found that you were both passionate about? Oftentimes, I find the answer to this question kind of helps cluster people's thinking around different values and themes that helped with the founding of the company. But is there anything that stand out to you guys? Anything that drew you to each other, or common values that you just started talking about?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit about the environment we were in and how different we were than the environment we're in. So when I started, the idea was like sell the client on a product and then move on. And that was the discussion. So like Carm came in, that was still I think prevalent because let's call it what it is. When you have culture like that, sales culture, like turning that around is like turning a battleship. Like it
Yeah,
takes time.
yeah,
We immediately again that was like our common I guess like the common thread between like we were just like no, we want planning, we like fiduciary planning, we like the idea of being working for the client, not for the company. So like that was that common value for us was like, hey, we have like we both care about the client. We're not looking, I'm not worried about the revenue that it produces. And that's what at the time the firm was really like they'd incentivize that behavior. And that was not something that we liked. So I think we kind of had a common enemy almost.
mm,
Right. And that like brought us together in a big way.
yeah. So you guys didn't like that environment, the vibe that created. It sounds like, and that's something that you two agreed on pretty aggressively.
We always said you do the right thing by people, you become an expert in what you're doing, and the money will always come secondary. Like you do a good
Yeah,
job for everybody, you care about who you're working with. That money is secondary. We're here to serve a purpose. We're in the service business at the end of the day, and I think that's if I had to sum up in one word, that's really what it is that we share.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you guys started having conversations. You're like, hey, we're pretty much on the same page here. Did anything else inspire you to go independent specifically and start your own firm? Does anything
Yeah,
stand out?
Yes. So what happened was right around the time, it's really crazy. So we were actually standing, there was a row of cubicles, just picture this, and we're standing in the row, we're looking up at a TV, and we see that MetLife had sold us to Mass Mutual. We had no idea that was happening. We
Mm,
saw it on TV, and what happened shortly after that, like they came in, they fired, I mean, they just got rid of all the management, all the people, and they were the guys that took over were very much they were very clear like we sell core product here, we sell whole life insurance policies, we sell long-term care disability, that's what we do here. if you do investment business, that's what they called it, or if you do planning, that is, you should drop. I kid you not. The conversation was had that to drop those licenses and focus on core product.
Wow.
So that was the moment when we looked at each other and we was like, we got to get out.
Wow. So in other words, more of what you guys didn't like
Yeah.
anyways, in more
Yeah,
of
like
it.
they like Andy, like oh my god, like they went in, they doubled up on the core product thing for us, we were like, nope.
Yeah.
So
Hard
It
pass.
gets
oh,
better
so we
though.
started.
I say it gets better. So we left that environment. We went somewhere else, and the second place we went to had everything built good. Like we can do planning the way we wanted to. We can do the investments the way we wanted to. It was great. But over time, so we're talking over a 5 year period, the rules slowly changed and they never were in our favor. It was always geared more towards sell more core product, do more of this. You work for the company, not for your clients. That was essentially what they were saying. And Dave and I refused to do that. So the only people that we were hurting were ourselves. Like there was one point where we actually had probably the best 6 month stretch ever in terms of like getting new clients. And me personally, my income or the assets I had under management at that time, I think it tripled. And my income went down because I refused to sell someone a life insurance policy just because they hit a goal. So that was the second step. And finally, it got so bad. We're like, you know what? We're tired of all this. Like, we want to do things our way. Let's, the next leap we're doing is not under another company, it's independence.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Just imagine being in an environment for a minute. Just imagine. And this is, by the way, like anyone watching this, it's more prevalent than you think. Like every one of the, if a company manufactures a product, then the person that they have sell that product ultimately is an advisor that they hire that's on their payroll essentially in one way or another, and they incentivize the sale of those products. That often creates, I'm going to call it like company goggles, so to speak, like beer goggles. And you find that a lot of the recommendations are centered around their product mix. That for us was, it felt so gross. It just didn't feel good. Like that's not what we signed up for. And again, it always comes back to the fact that again, if you want to be an advisor, truly be an advisor or planner to your client, work for the client and not for the company, you have to be independent. There is no other way at this point, and at least from our experience.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the conviction that's there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the people that you guys work with, your clients, those that you serve. You mentioned Fortune 500 companies, but maybe you could take a moment to describe the kind of person who comes to you, bring us into their world.
I would say the kind of person that comes to us is they're working for some corporation. They're usually higher, they're the VP level maybe and higher. They're earning good money. They have a complex benefit package. So they have a lot of questions about that because, companies don't make it easy to understand and they certainly don't give you the resources to help you out either. So they have questions on that. Because they're making good money, they have tax problems, right? More money, more problems. So they have tax problems. They always think they're paying too much in taxes. Not to mention, they're usually family oriented. So usually married, usually have kids. Not everyone, but they have that mentality and they have goals, right? They want to retire, they want to do stuff for their family, buy a second home, whatever it may be. And they've done really well because they're making good money and they don't know how to handle all of the investments they have either. So those are usually like the pillars we see. It's really combining like the investments, the tax strategy, and the actual planning and goal setting all together and kind of wrapping it as one systematic approach. I think that's really
Generally
solid.
good. Yeah, they're good delegators. So like they're people in positions, usually in management positions, where they're good delegators. They're the kind of folks who are like, I mean, again, all of our clients, we have clients who are CFAs that are so incredible. I mean, they manage money.
Yeah.
We have clients who manage money and they come to us, which is really, really flattering. I make the joke they've probably forgotten more at this point than we
Yeah.
know. Like they've been in like 40 years in the game, right? But again, there's a trust factor there. I think they realize that we've designed the entire practice around those folks. Like we're not a do-it-all kind of practice. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if we have some clients that are, business owners that have come in referrals because they're the brother of one of our top clients, like that to us, of course, we don't, that is something where we look to help those people, but our practice is truly designed around Fortune 500, professionals who have these issues and that are looking for a level of coordination that they cannot find at the bigger box firms because those firms are very restricted in the type of advice they can give. So they're looking for, again, that true comprehensive coordination across their tax arm, their investments, their planning. Sometimes their attorneys, maybe they have some outside real estate investments that we're helping them along with some strategy there, again, with their accountant. That is really the people that we work with. They're good delegators. They want us to basically summarize everything down to where they can make really good decisions and quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And trust us to bring our expertise to help them do that.
And they're really busy, right? Like
They're super busy.
Super
Yeah.
busy. I love that. So, I mean, you guys have a very specific type of person who comes to you with some very specific problems. What I always like to do at this point is I just want to understand more about like what's going on in their minds, what they're, what's kind of keeping them up at night. You mentioned some of the questions that they ask. They want help with tax strategy, goal setting, wrapping that into an overarching plan. But since I don't talk to your clients, obviously, what are some of the questions that they might typically ask when they meet with you for the first time? What's keeping them up at night? Do you have like a list of top 2 to 3 most common questions or concerns that they mention the first time that they meet with you guys? What's top of mind for them?
I'd probably say the question everyone asks: am I on track compared to everyone else? And that doesn't matter because it's their situation. So they ask that. But I think more importantly, most people that come to us, they never think they have enough to do the things they want to do. Like, let's just use retirement as an example, or what would happen if they lost their job, like, and retirement's earlier than expected. Like, am I okay? How am I able to do all these things that I want to do? Like, that's usually what's top of mind. Like, how do I ensure that my daughter's college is paid for and I can still pay for the weddings and I can still retire and do all these things? That's usually the I would say the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always I feel like the tax questions come up. Like, is there a better way to do this? Or, I'm making X amount of dollars. Like, is there anything I can do to, instead of pay that in taxes, keep that in my investments and compound more further, right? So I think those are really the big ones. I don't know, Dave, if you have any other ideas.
Well, what's interesting too is a lot of people, what's becoming the new trend, I would say, with a lot of our clients. We've had more clients retire and go back to work by choice, by the way, by choice, because they're bored out of their minds, right?
Yeah, seems to be a common thing in retirement.
It's common. It's becoming really common.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. A lot of the conversations are swaying towards this idea of semi-retirement. And by the way, can I walk out of my role now? Like, can I walk out of my big role now? Because it is stressful. And if you think hey, if you can test and say, did I make enough money to get out of this role? Right. But maybe I can get out 2 or 3 years earlier and I'd be willing to work part-time or in a contract capacity just to keep myself busy and keep the social aspect.
Yeah.
And I'll work even a little longer doing that because I actually like that. But what I don't want is the stress. So how do I ditch the grind, but still keep the social and the purpose? That is becoming so prevalent in the conversations. It's shocking. In fact, we're gonna probably do a video on it soon, very soon, actually, in our next shoot day that we're gonna do, because again, it is such a common conversation, and it just comes down to quality of life. And it's like COVID gave people got to stay home, they got to do more things, and now they're required to go back to the office. So everyone's mindset's like, wait a second, can I do way less of this? Or if not, maybe get rid of it altogether and just do some consulting. Like, if I have the money to do that, I want to know I can do that and walk out a little earlier and just take back my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's not just you guys noticing this pattern or trend. I've noticed it too. More purpose driven work and finding that balance. At this point, I would move on and go to the next question. But if you're cool with it, I'd like to sit with this for another minute or two. Is this something that you would help lead or guide your clients on, helping them make that transition?
100%, and give them the confidence to do it. Like, so a big part, again, which is kind of is something that I think that we do a bit different from a, even from a process standpoint, is again is everybody talks about the goals and they all talk, and I think a lot of people will build out the kinds of plans where they're assuming best case scenario. We're very much looking at this and saying, hey, what's the worst that can happen here? Let's say you get laid off. Let's say you decide you want to walk out. Sorry about that, guys. Let's say you want to
Worries.
walk out. Let's say you want it right. Um, you just want to kind of, again, take your life back a little bit. Yeah, we're able to run all of that and show them with hard numbers the risks associated, ultimately what it looks like once the paycheck stops, how we can replace that paycheck, and then furthermore, how to make it hyper efficient in terms of taxes and investments so that they're not getting crushed.
Mm-hmm.
That, so 100%. I mean, with very, I mean, with a very high degree of certainty, we can tell them very quickly even what the possibilities are for them.
And on top of that too, like to dive into the the people we work with, like corporate professionals, we look at their benefits through a really deep lens. Like where we're saying, hey, if you do leave, here's what happens with all these benefits. Here's what you're giving up maybe on the stock comp side by leaving early. But if it's worth it and you can do what you want, then do it. But if not, you know, we give them that advice as well. Like, hey, here's what happens if you leave before this age or whatever it may be, which I feel like is lost when you're not working with those people every single day because, like I said
Definitely.
earlier, those benefits are complicated and long. The
Yeah.
documents are crazy. So we really hone in on that because it's super impactful and it's very underrated. People don't really take into it account into their plans a lot.
Yeah. I think that it sounds like, and of course, all of these are, um, nothing ever is certain, right? But it sounds like one of the things that you really help your clients with is they have these massively complex situations and they're also weighing different decisions. So if you can just extract all of that, um, take all of that that's abstract and just present the decision to them in a way that is easy for them to wrap their head around, and you can help them make sense of it. I think that sounds like something that your clients really value in what you do.
Yeah, through and through. I think again, it's about we're doing the legwork, we're doing the analytical legwork for the client and bringing them, here's pros and cons. They're part of the planning discussion. That's the reality of, like, it's a very a team approach in that sense, because all of our clients are really smart people.
Yeah.
So like, they're no one, they're very intelligent. I mean, we have some really really incredible clients, and not only do we love them, like, and get along with them, but again, we have a great working relationship with them in terms of decision making. And again, that comes from our approach, it comes from our process, and it comes from, again, like, I think we're able to provide the information they need to feel good about making decisions. And what Carm said before, I think a lot of times when you're not working with someone who specializes in you or your specific type of situation, sometimes stones are left unturned. And I think people go, if I would have known that, I would have done this way. That doesn't happen with our clients because we only do this. Like, this
Yeah.
is our lane. This is what we do.
Yeah. I love it. I want us to unpack a little bit more, how you work with your clients and what your process looks like in a minute. But first, let's take a step back. Where do you typically find your clients, or where do they find you? Rather, where do they come from?
I would say, word of mouth from other existing clients is obviously that's a big one. They find us on LinkedIn. They find us through our YouTube channel as well. I think that's where we've been seeing some inflows. But
Nice.
most of the time, it's because we're working with people at these companies, larger companies. It's we work with that person. They say, hey, I met Dave the other day. He really helped me with this. You should talk to him. I know you've been having some questions around your financial situation, and that compounds and compounds and compounds. Um, but yeah, I think that's where they find us, and they see that we have the expertise there, and they're like, all right, this makes sense. The trust is kind of there already.
Cool. I like to understand that because it helps give me more perspective and other people more perspective. Because it's all about, like, what's it look like when somebody reaches out to you? What's their situation? So obviously every situation is unique, but um, okay. So you guys are you're the founders, you're the owners of the practice, and what I like to do is I like to understand more about your vision, because this helps people see how you think about the future. So when it comes to your practice, where do you see it in the next 2 to 3 years? What's your vision? What are you working on? Any goals any goals that you're
There's some,
working on?
right, there's some big ones, and there, I think one of the things, and this goes back to, let's go full circle back to the start of this conversation, is where we came from, right, and what we saw out there. And I think a big part of what we're doing is because we want to move the needle on the quality of advice that is given in our industry. That's the reason why we started YouTube and we started pushing on LinkedIn and starting. There's unfortunately, we feel like there's product sales disguised as advice, and it's prevalent in the industry. And I think there's a reason why there's a lack of trust in our industry for financial professionals, and it's because I think people, maybe they don't directly know it, but they can kind of sense it. People are smart, right? Like they can sense when something is being sold to them. And I think a big thing for us in this education platform that we're trying to build with YouTube and again LinkedIn is really trying to like kind of level up the standard of advice in our business. And I know that sounds, I mean, we're talking, that's a big undertaking to be able to want to do that. But I got to tell you, we're part of mastermind groups with other advisors, and they're looking at it the same way. And they're saying, hey, they all left the worlds that we were in, right? We were, and I say worlds because again, two different companies ended up the same way, and they were both product manufacturers, right? Ended up going towards your compensation, and everything is dictated by what you sell that is their product, right? Sell core product, you get rewarded. That's what it is, right? But again, these folks were in the same situation, and we've all had discussions in these mastermind groups, and we've all kind of come up with that same goal. Is like, hey, we need to level this industry up. Like, let's bring some pride back to this profession and some professionalism back to the profession. And so, if I had to tell you, that is probably our biggest goal. As far as again, listen, revenue's never been the main motivator in how we built this, and it's always been like, hey, do a really good job at, be highly ethical, be service oriented, like really care about people, and the byproduct will be revenue. Like revenue shouldn't be the number one thing driving the goal. It just seems silly to me, and kind of, again, I think it's, listen, you look at medical, you look at finance, people, two important, very important things for people. And again, biggest complaints of people is that it's motivated, everything's motivated by money, right? Like they feel like their doctors do it. They feel like, right. Well, let's make that a little different. Like let's be good examples of what this is supposed to look like. So that ultimately, like for me, and again, I don't want to speak for Carm, but that's the conversations we've had in terms of the next couple of years, is building that YouTube channel to something where we can make a difference.
I love it. I think this goes in line with one of the core motivations of you guys starting your own firm in the first place, which is trust, right? That conviction to do that, make the right, not sell stuff just to sell it, but to help make recommendations in the client's best interest and serve them first. So I love that.
Work for the client, truly work for the client.
Yeah. Carmine, anything you want to add to that? Anything specifically related to 2 to 3 year goals, vision that you guys are working on together? Any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely everything Dave said. In addition, more on I guess the business side of things is be a place where people who want to get into this industry on the advisor side have a firm that does the training the right way, teaches people actually how to give advice and the things to pay attention to, and train them the right way, where you're not jumping in here and you're selling to people like the environments we grew up in. It's the proper way. It's the way every other industry works. The law firms, accounting firms, they all work training first, and then you start working with clients and build that system so it can live beyond me and Dave, where it just keeps compounding. But everyone has the right values, the right principles, and it's all ingrained in the culture that we have here. So the next 2 to 3 years is really laying the groundwork for all of that. And then beyond that, we're hoping to see, like I said, bigger than me and Dave. So that's really what I would add on top of it.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you're thinking beyond yourselves, but your story is kind of the genesis of all that. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about your process and what it actually looks like to work with you. So let's say someone becomes a client today. What does onboarding look like? What happens the first couple of weeks?
Pretty easy. So Dave mentioned earlier, we try to do all of the legwork. The client, there's a document request where we need their information, and we leave no stone unturned. We want to know everything so we can give the best possible advice on everything. So that's probably the most heavy lifting from the client perspective, is gathering all that information, and we're here to help with that as well. Like we have a team built out. Like if we need to make phone calls to institutions, like one of our guys is jumping on. We try to white glove everything to make it as seamless as possible, because we don't want that to be in the way of giving good advice, right? So after that, it's a lot of analysis on our end. Like we look through everything: investment statements, tax returns, what the clients actually want to do with their money and their life. And that's where we start the kind of the initial modeling of a projection, and then we dive deep down into each one of the disciplines, like the investments, the retirement picture, if that's one of their goals, and that they are retiring, like where are you getting income from, and we dive deeper into each one depending on the client situation, and then across everything is a tax overlay. And what I mean by that is we're always looking through the scope of taxes, because it affects every single portion of someone's life. And it can be the difference of $1 stretching like 1 year or 10 years if you're smart about how you do the tax planning. So, so it's a few meetings, but most of the heavy lifting's on us. We nerd out on it. We love it. We love going through all the stuff.
That's always good.
We have internal meetings where that's another thing too on our end, which the clients don't see a lot. It's a team approach. So it's me, Dave. There's a couple other people on the team, and we like to spitball, collaborate on it, because, yes, me and Dave agree on everything planning. Like we have the same mindset. Sometimes I'll see something or he'll see something or look at it from a different way. And it's great to have that extra input and not be kind of just stuck in your own thoughts.
Additionally, you know what is something really interesting, like a really big benefit of the way we do things now? It's almost like a war room. That's how I describe it. Like, so imagine a bunch of people around a table looking at stuff and saying, like, poking holes and stuff. And that's like what we do. What we find is there's an added benefit to that, and it's that we all know the client case. So, like, if I get hit by a bus, and I get asked this all the time, like, what happens if you get hit by a bus? Always getting hit by buses, Greg. I don't know why.
Not me.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But if you get hit by a bus, like, does everybody know my situation? It's like, yeah, they've been in the room the whole time. Like, they know everything, right? I think that's critically important for two reasons. One, again, the client has that backup. They know that. That's great, right? But additionally, it's how we train people to have the same mindset as us around the client service and what we ultimately produce for clients, right? So, like, everything from the deliverables to the conversations, they're in on it. So again, that's to us, that's what's always been missing, to go to Carm's point. That's been missing from the financial advisory world. We were shut out of those conversations in the beginning. I mean, they weren't. I work with some great people, and again, I'll never talk about a single person I've ever worked with, because I learned something from every single person.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, like, you can't duplicate yourself if you don't bring people in on the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that what happens if you don't have a vision of how to duplicate yourself, eventually you're going to get tapped out from a bandwidth perspective, and then your service will suffer.
Yeah.
And our case-bake, the way we do that, it creates people who understand the client process very, very well. They understand the planning process very well. And we could, for the sake of discussion, if I got hit by a bus, they'd be able to step in and do a fantastic job for the client.
I love that. You create that redundancy. So after the client's onboarded, what does the working relationship look like? What's the meeting cadence? What does it look like to work with you during the course of a calendar?
Great question. So let's start with January. So January typically, say you're a client, you're already onboarded. January every year, you're getting what we call a tax letter. So we send out a letter to our clients or their accountants saying, hey, here's all the expected documents that our client is supposed to get. So it helps the accountant. The accountants love us because they're like, oh, thank God. Like, we never
even strategy too. Like if there's something we did in terms of Roth conversions or something like that, like, they're getting a heads up on all that, what was done, why it was done. And we probably had a conversation with them already. So it's more of just a reminder that it happened.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So So that's the first thing that happens. Usually in March is our beginning of year kind of strategy meeting. So we're reviewing what we went over the previous year, setting some goals for the current year. Has anything changed? What's going on? Yada yada yada. But we're kind of setting the tone for the year with that, and just touching base and making sure that we're aware of everything going on. Revisit the plan, revisit the goals. After that, tax season ends in April, so we're requesting tax returns from all of our clients.
Mm-hmm.
We do a tax report, reviewing the previous year, send it off to them like, hey, here's what went on. If there's something that is a red flag, we let them know. If not, we just say, hey, for your information, here's what it is. And if we implemented a strategy in the previous year, we say, hey, that strategy worked. Here's how much you saved, or here was the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Then as we lead up into the summer, I forgot one thing. We actually send out 3 times a year. It's called the Strata Perspective. It's like a 10-minute video that goes through, we call it also cocktail finance. It's just like headline news going on, how the markets are doing. But we basically say, if you watch that video, you should be the smartest person at your next cocktail party type of thing.
Nice.
Be able to hold your conversation with your buddies, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna sound like you know what you're talking about and that you're well read on the subject matter.
Yeah.
But not great. Like, we don't get into the detailed nitty gritty stuff on it because nobody wants that. Yeah. But I think people understanding, like,
they want to know your take on it, right?
Yeah, like, what's the news headlines? Like, what's happening with interest rates? What does that impact? Like, they can go have a pretty nice conversation on it with people. And again, super high level, but at least they sound, and that's the joke, cocktail finance, right?
I love it. How often do you typically meet with your clients? Is it once per quarter, once per year, available ad hoc? What's that structure?
So available ad hoc, certainly. We meet with people all the time because things change. But I think the majority of our clients have gotten into this cadence that they love, where it's that March meeting. And they're getting a video also they get a video of that Strata Perspective, right? We were doing it on meetings, and then we were like, why don't we try to just record this and send it out? We did that, and people are like, oh, so much better, because I can stop and start it. I can refer back to it, right? But June and July, we recorded another video for them, the Strata Perspective, and then we'll usually go through their quarterly performance report and any outstanding items on video, and we'll send it to them. Some clients book the meeting right after that because they have things they want to discuss. Other people are like, thanks so much for the update. I'm too busy.
Yeah, okay? Summer, vacations.
Whatever you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever you want. And then September rolls around. Again, we're preparing for clients for the October meeting. The reason why October is important to us and why we do the October meeting the way we, at the time we do it, is because it's open enrollment. So we're helping clients choose what they need to choose for their benefits in open enrollment. We're also having conversations around potentially, again, their deferred comp. That usually is a November decision. But again, we're kind of getting ahead of that. And then additionally, especially for retired clients, we're kind of looking back at the year from a tax perspective and saying, okay, did everything go the way we planned it would? Is there any adjustments that we need to make for the remainder of the year? That usually is enough time. And then again, additionally, with those retired clients, we're looking to now for the year forward and saying, what kind of income do we need? What accounts are we taking from and how much, and what are the tax withholdings? And we're really getting into the nitty gritty. Like, October is a big meeting. So March and October, the two biggies. The middle of the year, if you want to catch up, great, let's do it. You have that option to book a meeting. 90% of people don't. They're like, this is good.
But it's there if they need it.
It's there if they need it, right? And some people book it because they just want to say what's up, and that's cool too, right? We love that. But for the most part, again, 3 Strata Perspective videos you're getting, and you're getting 2 definite meetings, very planning and tax heavy, with the additional third one if you want in the center of the year. That's been really great. People like that. And of course, we're available all year.
Yeah, something pops up. Hey, I'm getting a new job, or I'm buying this house, which people are buying houses left and right, apparently, because
everyone's buying houses.
Emails left and right on it. We're there for that as well, like, anytime.
I love it. So you have that structure in place during key points of the year that are very relevant to your clients, and also you're available if anything changes. So I love it. All right. So for anybody who is interested in wanting to get in touch with you or possibly working with you, what should they do next? Where should they go?
Go to our website, which is www.stratacapital.co. That's .co, not .com. and go to the contact page, and then you can either fill out the form or there's links there you can book a meeting directly. I would say additionally, check out our YouTube channel, which is Strata Capital. It's youtube.com/@Strata Capital. So a lot of good information there as well.
Awesome. David, Carmine, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Greg.